Good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a great day so far, starting off the new month and the new year. Most importantly, stay warm, and I hope you enjoy yourself during the day. So I want to share with you a couple of conversations that I've had with some people during the last couple of days on Shabbos and last night, and I hope it will be something you'll find very interesting. I find it fascinating concerning Yosef. Such an interesting individual, and we learned so much from him and about him and what makes him tick and what pushes his buttons, what makes him cry. So at the end of the Parsha, Vayechi, which is at the very end of the book of Genesis, we find a very interesting story, how after Yaakov passes away, all of a sudden, the brothers perceive there's a little bit of a change in mood on the part of Yosef. And immediately they jump to the conclusion that Yosef is angry at us for what we did to him when he was 17 years old and we sold him down to Egypt. And after all these years, he's going to get back to us now. He's really going to give it back to us full blast. So what does that mean? It means that they send a messenger to Yosef. They make up a little bit of a baba ma'aseh. They told him that Yaakov, their father, had told them to tell him, Yosef, that he should forgive them for what they did. So while this messenger is there, and they go also, and they prostrate themselves before him, asking for forgiveness, that we'll be your slaves, we'll do whatever you want, we're sorry, we're sorry, we're sorry. What's Yosef's reaction? He weeps. He cries from the depths of his heart. He weeps. Why? Because he realizes that for 17 years that he was there and he took care of his brothers and he sustained them and he loved them and he thought that they loved him sincerely from the depth of their hearts, and they had resolved all their issues and they had forgotten about what happened in the past and they were forgiven 100%. He sees that he was living a dream. There was really no true relationship there the way he had thought it had been. And they had harbored in their hearts all this time this fear that maybe the reason why Yosef is saying all this and the reason why he's being so good to us is because our father's still alive. And now that our father is not alive, we're looking for little indications that maybe he's going to change his attitude. And we found one. And so therefore we're convinced that Yosef is now going to take it out against us. So Yosef says, I don't understand you guys. I told you 17 years ago that Hashem was orchestrating this whole thing. They had almost the same conversation 17 years later that he had 17 years before in Parshas Vayigash, when he first revealed himself to his brother and they say, I don't hold any grudge against you at all. But brings out a very interesting point. Sometimes when you're in a position of authority or power, or somebody's a little bit feeling vulnerable, or they're sensitive, or they're somewhat fragile, you can never know what's going on in a person's heart. And you might say something that in your mind just takes care of the problem, and you're forgiven, or we solve this, or there's no, I don't have any grudge against you, or whatever it might be. But that person maybe for 17 years could hold it in the back of their mind. Maybe they still do have a grudge. So sometimes it takes a certain level of sensitivity to try to step up to the plate and to tell a person that on a regular basis even, don't worry, everything's really fine. There's nothing to worry about at all. I understand you might think that I still have a grudge, or that I did this, or I said that, and you might interpret it as such, but the fact is there's nothing to worry about. So then the question comes up, how could we expect that Yosef should have such a sensitivity? How should he project on his brothers that they're going to interpret his actions and revert right back to the place where they were 17 years ago? How should we expect that of him? Well, the fact is, and this is part of a Shabbos conversation I had with somebody which really made me jump a little bit and realize, because it's something I had heard before, but I never put two and two together. But the fact is that Yaakov, earlier on in this Parsha, in last week's Parsha, Vayechi, taught Yosef that exact lesson, where we see when he was directing Yosef that he wanted to be buried in Maris and Machpelah together with his parents and grandparents, that in giving the instructions to Yosef and requesting his assistance to make this happen, what did he say to him? He referred to the burial of Yosef's mother, Rachel. In other words, Yaakov was sensitive enough to realize that here I am, I'm asking Yosef to take me and probably a whole entourage as well up to Hebron and to bury me there. And when I didn't even go a half day out of my way to bury his mother, Rachel, in Hebron at the Maras Machpelah, the same place where I want to be buried. And he could perhaps hold a grudge. And even though we don't see the conversation in the Torah, but we can almost assume that at some time, either during the first 17 years of Yosef's life, hanging around at home with Yaakov, or after Yaakov and Yosef were reunited during the 17 years that they were in Egypt, sometime during those years that they had this conversation, and Yosef asked his father, Father, why didn't you take my mother when she passed away to Maras Machpelah? It's a very, very expected type of question. But for Yaakov, whatever the conversation was beforehand, it was not enough. And he had to, at that time, because of his sensitivity, realize that due to the request that he was making, it could bring up feelings for Yosef of long ago, why, in fact, his father didn't do that. So he explained to him that really this was a gezerah malamayla. This was something that God decreed. As we know from the Midrash and many other sources, that God wanted that Rachel should be buried on the road between Jerusalem and Hebron, so that when the travelers travel, they'll have a place to be able to pray to God, and that she should be mavake al beneha. She should cry out to Hashem and daven on behalf of all of the Jewish people in her location, that she had a special role being in that location. And he said to Yosef that this was coming straight from Hashem. So please don't hold a grudge to me for the fact that I didn't bring your mom there, but nevertheless, I'm asking you to bring me there. So as a result, we see how Yaakov himself had that level of sensitivity. And Yosef could have learned from him as well to have that sensitivity to foresee that his brothers perhaps would have a renewed fear or concern or worry or nervousness about perhaps now our brother Yosef is really going to take it out on us for what we did to him many, many, many years ago. What it teaches, I think, all of us is how to try to be that type of sensitive person and to be aware of the fact when circumstances change, sometimes the things we said in the past are not enough to be able to compensate for what renewed feelings might come to a person's heart or thoughts that come to their mind as a result of the changed circumstances. And sometimes we need to have conversations again, whether it be with our children, whether it be with our spouses, whether it be with our parents, whether it be with people who we work for or who we employ, or so forth and so on, or distant family. But conversations always help to be able to clear the air and help us to have that extra sensitivity so that we can really hear what's going on inside another person's heart. So with that in mind, I hope that with a little extra time that I hope you have today, it's a vacation day for most people, that you should be able to learn a little extra Torah. We have a fascinating new book, the book of Exodus, which is starting today. And I hope you'll be able to really start the year off with some new learning, which will also help us all to be better people, be better Jews, and do our part to make this world a better place, to bring Mashiach. It should be now. Amen. Take care. Have a great day.